Good morning and welcome to the first day of summer reading. I know this is way different and I wish you were here with me in person, but until then, we've got this. So first, let's read a little story. We're going to read today Marshmallow Incident, and it's written by Judy Barrett and illustrated by Ron Barrett. The marshmallow incident occurred a very long time ago, so long that most people have forgotten why it happened in the first place. Fortunately, the true story was recorded in a diary that was found in the ruins of an ancient castle, hidden in an old and stale box of marshmallows. The diary tells the story of two neighboring towns, the town of Left and the town of Right. They were named that way because of everyone who lived in the town of Left was left-handed, and everyone who lived in the town of Right was right-handed, and it had been that way for endless generations. The difference seemed so extreme to the people of Left and Right that they refused to have anything to do with one another. It didn't help that someone had painted a bright yellow dotted line between the two towns. The people didn't know who had done it or why, but they never trespassed on or over that line. Both towns watched over by the order of the knights of the dotted yellow line, who lived in a small castle right smack in the middle of the dotted yellow line, and whose sole mission in life was to make sure that nobody crossed that dotted yellow line. They kept that line neat and clean, repainted it when it started to fade, and guarded it really well. The knights also guarded something else really well: their marshmallows. A few years earlier, one of the knights had entered a pottery contest and won first prize, which just happened to be 50,000 boxes of marshmallows. That was an awful lot of marshmallows. When they were delivered to the castle, the knights stacked them up as high inside of the front gates. Knights snacked on them, ate them with peanut butter, melted them on baked potatoes, floated them in their hot chocolate, put them on pizza, spun them into fluff, fed them to their horses as special treats, and roasted them. One sunny June day, the town of Right was having its annual picnic, complete with soup and biscuits. Kids were running around and climbing up and down trees and on top of stone walls. They were getting very close to that dotted yellow line, so someone went running after them to keep them away from it. Before he knew it, he had tripped on a rock, went flying over the line, and landed in the town of Left. He knew there was going to be trouble, and there certainly was. When the knights saw what had happened, they immediately whipped themselves into a frenzy. The line had been crossed. Since it had never happened before, they shouted orders to one another to mount their horses and grab the nearest ammunition, which, oddly enough, turned out to be their marshmallows. The knights strapped several boxes of marshmallows onto their horses and swarmed out of the castle in a major tizzy to their nightly duty to defend the dotted yellow line. Galloping around, they filled their catapults and fired thousands of marshmallows into the air. Birds caught hold of them in flight. The people ran for shelter. After a few minutes, it looked as if there had been a blizzard. The countryside was littered with marshmallows. The marshmallows gently bounced off houses and heads, rolled down hills, floated across the lake, got stuck in the trees, and amused and confused the cows. The attack continued until one of the knights realized how silly the whole thing was. He climbed on top of a large pile of marshmallows, raised his hands high in the air, and yelled, "Why do we have this line? It's been there for years and years, but it seems to create problems instead of solving them. Let's wipe it out." "Not so fast," the townspeople shouted. "This calls for a town meeting of both towns." Later that afternoon, the townspeople met. The knights stood by to keep peace. In the end, no one could come up with a truly sensible reason to keep the line, so they decided they should get rid of it. "No more lines," shouted townspeople as they danced around in celebration. Then, for the first time ever, the townspeople crossed over the line and introduced themselves. They even shook hands and chatted. Everyone had a good time playing with the marshmallows. They made finger puppets out of them and invented games like Tic-Tac Marshmallow and Base Marshmallow. People painted with them, slept on them, and turned them into sculptures. Someone even built a small version of the pyramids. That night, all the people from the towns of left and right roasted marshmallows over a huge roaring campfire. The knights and their horses were there too. Everyone sat in the circle and sang their favorite songs while munching on their delicious, gooey treats. The next day, using mops and brushes, soap and water, all the townspeople joined together happily to remove the old dotted yellow line. They rubbed at it and scrubbed at it until the line was completely gone. In time, all the marshmallows disappeared. The rain melted them and washed them away. And every year after that, on the anniversary of the marshmallow incident, the towns of left and right held campfire. The knights always supplied a sensible number of marshmallows for the townspeople to roast, and everyone continued to live peacefully and sweetly ever after. Good night. The end. What an awesome story. So of course, we're going to do some activities with knights. So first I want you to pull out just your paper plate that's in your kit. Okay, just your paper plate. And then you'll need either crayons or color pencils or markers, whatever you choose. Mrs. V is going to use some I almost said marshmallows. Use some markers. Okay. And what I want you guys to do is not on this side that has your handle, but on this side, I want you guys to color it. This is your knight shield. I want you to make it whatever you want it to be. It can be just colorful and rainbows. It can have drawings on it. It can have designs. It can be all one color. It can be every color. You can use crayons and markers and colored pencils all on it or just one. Mrs. V just has some colored markers here. So I'm going to make mine. And I'm going to put a big V in the middle of mine for Mrs. V because this is my shield. And you guys can start doing your coloring if you have your materials. I hope that you guys are having a great summer so far. And I'm hoping that you're keeping cool. It's been so incredibly hot out. I know that at our house, we've been doing a lot of playing in the sprinkler and our slip and slides, things like that to keep cool. We've been having a lot of extra yummy treats that are cold, like our ice cream. I'm going to get my V colored and then I'll show you what it looks like. So there's the first part. I'm just going to kind of go from there. Now again, you guys don't have to do the same kind of design that I'm doing. You guys can do whatever you like. And what I would love for you to do is have your mom or your dad or your grandma or your grandpa or maybe even an older brother or sister or cousin or whoever that has a camera. I want you to have them take a picture of you with your shield. Since we're not here together, I can't see all your awesome artwork. So when your shield is all done, I want you to have them take a picture of it with you in it, of course. I want to see your beautiful faces. But take a picture of you with your shield and then post it on Facebook. The library has a Facebook page. And I know some of you kiddos might not know what that is, but I know that mom and dad and stuff will. So we can see all the beautiful different artwork that we've got going on right now. It'll be pretty cool. I'm pretty excited. I have an idea. I know what some of you might do just because you guys tend to have certain things you love to do. Like Mrs. V always likes to do things bright and colorful, right? Everything that Mrs. V does has always got lots of colors on it. Because I don't have one favorite color. I like all the colors the same. I couldn't choose if somebody said, just pick one. You can only choose one. I would have a really hard time. If I absolutely had to choose one, I probably would lean towards kind of a teal color. Do you guys remember what teal is? It's not really green, but it's not really blue. It's kind of a mixture of both. And there's different kinds. There's a light one and a dark one. And I kind of like all of them. Look, there's another part of my V. And I think I'm just going to keep going like this. I should have put mine a little bit closer in I didn't quite do it exactly like I had hoped, so we're just going to make it work. And you guys can do the same. If you make a mistake, it's okay. There aren't really any mistakes in art and things because you can just kind of keep going with it and go a different direction. I'm trying to color a little fast for you guys so you can see it at the end, but we'll see what happens here. Mrs. V might have to take a picture of hers when she's all done. I should have done one ahead of time, but I really wanted to kind of color with you guys today. Instead of just already having mine done. That's not so much fun, is it? Have you guys ever thought of what your knight name would be? Like if you were a knight in armor that guarded towns, like our marshmallow knights in our story that guarded all the marshmallows. You know, if they had if you had a special name, maybe think, what would your knight name be, and why? I'm trying to think of one, but I can't really think of anything. I bet you guys probably can way better than I can. It can be like Mrs. V, the colorful knight, because I like lots of colors and my shield will be lots of colors, so maybe I'm Mrs. V, the colorful knight. What do you think about that? Do you think that kind of sounds okay, or is that pretty silly? Now you guys can color even, you don't have to stay just on this flat part. You guys can color the whole thing. You don't necessarily have to color the back of it, but if you want to, you can certainly do so. Just make sure you leave your pieces of tape that are on there on the back, because that's your shield's handle, so you can actually hold on to it and defend yourself, because that's what knights did. That's why they had shields, was a way for them to defend themselves, to be able to block things that were being like thrown at them. In this case, in our story, it looks like they were using their shields to help themselves when there was the marshmallow incident and all the marshmallows were all over the place. I don't think I'm going to use my yellow. I don't know. I think I definitely have to have some pink in here. All right. Go about this far. You guys make sure that you're not just watching me color, that you guys are painting or drawing your pictures or whatever you're using for your materials to get color on your shield, okay? What do you guys think of Mrs. V so far? It's very bright colors and it's got lots of V's on there because I'm Mrs. V, the knight, the colorful knight. Look at that, I already forgot my own name. All right, we're gonna do one little bit more and then I think I'll let you guys just keep coloring. So you guys make sure that you're coloring. Now be careful when you are coloring. If you are using markers, which like I am, just like anything, remember when we use markers on paper, sometimes if you color too much in one spot, it bleeds through and gets on your on the tables and stuff. Even though you're using this really thick piece of kind of cardboard paper plate, it can still leak through because Mrs. V's got her hand on the back and I can feel like a little bit wet. It's not because my plate is wet, it's because my markers are kind of seeping through a little bit. So just keep that in mind when you're coloring to make sure that if you're using markers, you're not kind of coloring in the same exact spot too much, because you don't want it to make a mess on wherever you're working at right now, okay? Sometimes on the little edges here, it's a little tricky, kind of. So Mrs. V made a mistake here, and it looks a little funny, but like I said, there's no mistakes in art. We're just going to kind of keep going with it and see how it turns out and kind of fix it. So if you've made a mistake, don't worry. You don't have to start all over. Just keep going. It'll probably turn out better than what you originally had planned in your head anyway. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is, if you're still coloring, which I'm sure you are because I still am, I want you to press pause. So you might have to have, you know, mom or dad or grandma, grandpa, whoever's with you, you might have to ask them to push pause on our video. And what I want you to do is finish your coloring and finish up your shield and such, okay? I don't want you to feel rushed that you have to hurry and finish. So you just keep coloring, ask them to press pause on our video, and when you're all done coloring, ask them to push play, and we'll do our next project, because we have 2 smaller projects today instead of one big one.